Absolutely. So here we are. Welcome, welcome everyone. So excited that we've got our tech worked out and Mercury's in our favor for this moment. So thrilled to bring on Jen Ruskin joining us from the Midwest today in her awesome Hawaii hat. So welcome, Jen. So excited for today. Oh, oh, oh.
We are rocking the red lips today. You feel that?
I know. Absolument. This is my French red. I bring in the Magdalene red when I do especially inspiring talks, but I'm starting to wear it every time now. So welcome. Let's start off just sharing with everyone how we met magically in Hawaii a couple years ago, right? And we were roomed together in this amazing place. And actually share with them first about yourself before we launch into our story. So tell us who you are, fabulous one.
I'm Jennifer Ruskin. I help brands sell into Walmart and Amazon. It's not super sexy by any means, but I think it is a bit magical, and I try to bring my own magical flair into that. So my base is retail. I'm a businesswoman. I've got 2 little kids, 7 and 10, and a husband. And I live in Arkansas, where probably none of you are listening from, up in Arkansas, because I worked in the Walmart home office for 7 years and have spent almost 17 years now, either working directly for the retailer or in a supporting role as a supplier. So love to travel, love this whole priestess path, which I'll get to hear a little bit more, that I've now spent like 2 years with Marcela doing and going on with. So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, and I really see the work that you're doing is magical in that you're supporting small businesses who had a dream to create something and bring it out into the world. And we all know that in itself is a spiritual path. Anytime we have an idea or inspiration inside of us to bring something forth into the world, it's our baby. Whether it's a physical product or this business that I've built over the past 10 years, the business you've built, and that in itself, entrepreneurship is a spiritual path, because we are constantly having to work on ourselves, right? Like we face our fears, we go in there, we learn to wrangle them in a new way, we build our confidence. We that's really how success is born, I believe, is continuously believing in ourselves, believing in our dreams, surrounding ourselves with people that believe in us. And that's how these paths of your world, I feel, are really linked, is because what you've activated in your life around welcoming in magic has infused everything that you do. And you're changing the face of corporate America, in my view, which is why this is such an important conversation, because I've worked with a lot of women in corporate America, having lived in Charlotte for 9 years, a very corporate city. And I learned a lot about what it takes from women to walk that path, working their way up the corporate ladder, and you making that massive, bold move to create your own business, to step out of the way it was being done, and you're now doing it differently, and people are noticing, and they're going to keep noticing. I definitely want to welcome in. You are making that bridge. You're bridging the gap between both worlds, right? And I feel like that's your big gift for why we met and why you're stepping into this. One of the many reasons. So we met on the magical island of Hawaii a couple of years ago. We were there with a business women's mastermind group in a gorgeous 5-star resort. And we got room together. And from the beginning, we're like, hey, what do you do? What do you do? And we're just like, boink. And ever since, jumped into the intro program, joined us for the summer retreat, just finished the full 9-month initiatory process. And now you're moving into level 2 high priestess program, moving into apprenticeship, which is super, super exciting. And I'm so honored.
I'm so excited. And I want to jump in just a second to this story. So there's a bit of magic, even just in the way that Marcela and I became roommates. This program had already been established, that Marcela and I jumped into this immersion retreat thing in Hawaii where we met. And everyone had already signed up. It was part of their program. I read Women Rocking Business, and because I read the book, wanted the leader of that to be my mentor. And I don't know, Marcela, how you even found her, but it was basically like, it was kismet, because neither of us were supposed to be at this retreat, and neither of us joined at the right time, but we got invited to go. And then when we got there, we both had different roommates. we weren't supposed to be roommates together. Do you remember this?
Oh, right.
But a few things changed, and all of a sudden, like, someone came up to us and they were like, oh yeah, y'all are going to be roommates now. And we were like, okay, I don't know who this person is. I was there the day before Marcela. So she came in like in the middle of the night, like at midnight or something. I was asleep. I didn't even know who this person was. And then
you're in your room and you're asleep. You're like, okay, I'm trusting.
And I'm like, so what do you do? And she's like, oh, I'm a priestess. And I was like, what the hell is that? As you can imagine, like my background, I'm so corporate that, you know, like I probably traded in my heels the day before to go to Hawaii, right? Mm-hmm. And there you are like, I'm a priestess. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is, but it sounds kind of cool.
And then we got to know each other over those coming days. And what did you notice was kind of, you felt something shifting and unfolding as we got to know each other, right? And we spent time in those groups of women, and both of us just jumped into these groups that were already formed.
Yeah.
We just had this unique opportunity to join this specific retreat where we would then decide if we were going to move forward with the group. And that's edgy. You know, that takes boldness to fly yourself to a tropical island where everybody else knows each other and then just show up. Just keep showing up. We don't know what was going to unfold. We didn't know each other, and we just trusted. And that is a big piece of magic unfolding. Such a big key for people to get is multiple things, but one of them is we must trust when the magic unfolds in unexpected ways. And our linear logical minds, type A, workaholic, corporate reality that we live in, so many people live in, even as an entrepreneur, I can be that way too. When we're so logically minded and masculine focused, which is the doingness part of us, then we've shut off this whole magic and mystery and feminine, spiritual, sensual part of us that especially, like we all have, men and women, number one, all have masculine and feminine energy. And since we're born in this feminine body in this lifetime, we have an extra dose as women. And that's a big part of this work, is welcoming in the feminine principle, and awakening to magic is a big part of it. And this was perfect timing for this interview because I just finished a 3-part series last week on magic, and it just felt so important to talk about because it's gotten a bad rap. You know, it's like it's been put in the box of, we don't understand that, we're going to keep it over there. I don't know. I'm just going to stick with what I know. But at the same time, people are suffering and so desperately desiring to live this like magical life, passionate and connected and full of shifts and changes. But at the same time, it's a push-pull relationship. It's like, I want that, but I don't trust it. So how can I trust it? But it's so different from the way I've been trained. So share some of how, as you set the intention when you started the 9-month program last fall, I want to welcome in more magic.
Yeah.
You said it very clearly. So share with us, how has that intention then set forth to infuse in like every part of your life?
Yeah. Oh, I think it started on that island where we first met and then continued on. One thing I noticed there when you and I met was, and this is definite magic in my mind, we kept being drawn together. So although we were in a room with 40 other women, we'd have an activity together and you and I would end up in front of each other. And I remember part of that, you're talking about the masculine and the feminine dichotomy almost. I came in so masculine to that retreat weekend, and you were so feminine. You were like the exact balance for me that we'd end up paired together. And I remember this one activity where we were staring at each other, and I hadn't cried in years. I didn't feel emotionally inside myself. I didn't know what that felt like. And we're staring into each other and we're doing this exercise. And I'm like, like I can't breathe. I'm hyperventilating. And I was like, this is it. This is what I have to tap into to move forward in my life. And so you're right. Starting on the 9-week priestess path that I took with you, which I don't even think you offer the program anymore, but I got this little like dosage of 9 weeks with you, which was amazing. And I remember stepping into that program and just saying yes to everything. Like, shit, she's asking me to do some really hard things, but I can do it. And I'd like want to throw up, but then I would do it anyway. And then things would happen. So for example, like I was in some very unhealthy partnerships with my work business that I had to say no to, that I had to step out of. There were client relationships that I had that were very abusive, very verbally abusive to me and my team. And on these calls you'd have with us, you'd call me out on it and you'd be like, what are you doing about that person that's such a pain in the ass, you know? And I love that because you helped me move into and out of those relationships and then back into healthier ones. And I also learned the magic of attracting my ideal customer and attracting my ideal business partners even. Now that I don't have any more business partnerships, I still have strategic partnerships with marketing firms or other people in my business world. And I've learned to choose healthier ones through going through the program. I've learned how to spot those that aren't healthy for me, but to say yes and to magnetize those that are. So what's happened a year and a half later is I have 20 ideal clients. I love every one of them and I love getting on the phone with them and they pay me with ease, grace, and flow every single month. And I don't have to, ask them 10 million times to get paid, which is such a different story than from before I joined your program and before I learned how to do that magnetizing. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. And being a magnet for our desires, becoming a vessel for what we want to create in the world is the feminine principle. That is one of the big cores of it right there, because when we're in the masculine doingness aspect of us all the time, the overdoing, then we can move into a place of pushing and trying to make things work that really need to be let go of. And that can be a super scary process, but is what needs to occur and unfold for us to move forward. And it can look like definitely business partnerships, clients, love partnerships, friendships, neighborhood like relationships. And it's one of the reasons why relationship work is a part of the priestess path, and shadow work too, which the aspect of shadow work is just looking at the parts of ourselves that we've maybe rejected and pushed away and welcoming all of them to the table. And that's why this type of immersive process is so different than what a lot of people might think of. We're not learning how to make potions and like dance with fairies, even though that's some cool stuff that unfolds. We're actually doing it's a personal process. And we get clear about what we want to create in the world and what's the energetic state of being that we want to create beyond physical manifestation. And that's something I'm every year getting stronger and stronger at welcoming in the conversation from the beginning, is who is that you want to be on the other side of this process? Because we are absolutely creating ourselves in every moment. We're all master manifestors already. We just get to become conscious of what we're creating in the world, creating, manifesting, whatever word works for you. And when we open up the feminine principle of receivership, of allowing a bigger conversation, allowing magic to work its way in our lives, things can unfold in a way that's not pushing, that's not holding, that's not grasping, but it's allowing, it's trusting. It's being the magnet to where you just keep focusing on what you want to create, the state of being of ease, grace, and flow. I want all my clients to respect me, to love working with me, to be excited to pay me every month, to get extraordinary results from working together. Boom, that's your description. That's your ideal client. And it can be scary in the in-between space, right? Because there's a period of time you're like, holy crap, I got a team of people I need to pay and I'm letting go of some high dollar clients. And that can be really scary, dancing in the realm you're dancing with. So anything you want to share around that piece of
like two. I'm like putting my hands over here. Two. One, if you could have seen my business before I joined Marcela's program, it was all about how hard I was efforting. Like if I efforted hard enough, then it equated value to me as a person. So I worked so hard and I worked so many hours and I pushed and I pushed and I pushed, and definitely operated from a state of masculinity. It was like, how big can I grow my team? And how big can I grow my business and this dollar amount that I wanted to hit? And so I grew all the way to a team of 10. I had 70 clients that I brought in 6 months. I've never worked so hard in my whole life, and I've never created my own personal hell as great of a way that I did in that time. I mean, it was literally my own personal hell. It was so much to have to wrangle. And now I'll give you an example of what my life looks like now. So this morning I woke up to no alarm clock. I laid in bed till 8:30 with my husband while we surfed the internet, and I read a book and like didn't do anything. And it's so funny because now every morning we reflect on this. Like, we're very aware of how incredibly amazing our lives have become, but we know that we've created them. We are the creatrix of our life, right?
Yeah.
So after that, I thought, well, I'm going to make some breakfast for my kids. So I kind of puttered around and made breakfast. I didn't get to work till 10:30 in my office. I had one call and now I'm here. Like, guys, this is freaking insane. Not to mention, I don't have a team of 10 anymore. I have a team of like 2, and they do such amazing work for me that it allows me to sleep until 8:30 and make my kids breakfast and not put clothes on till 10:30. That is an actual reality. While I am sleeping and while I am reading and while I am lounging, I'm making money. Really good money. I've never profited as much either in my business because I don't have 10 people to pay. I have 2, and I have a team of 20 clients instead of 70 to wrangle. So all I'm saying is, if you're finding yourself in this position in your life where you're working so hard and you're trying to do all the things and you're trying to bring in all the clients or work for all the people, you can have the opposite effect, where I find when I sit and I'm quiet and I'm taking care of me, which is one of the pillars of the priestess path, I believe, number 1.
Yeah.
When you're taking care of you, you can take care of everyone else so much better. Life flows better. It's more relaxed, and you find more abundance in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the feminine principle right there. And you just rocked it out of the park. And you just kept following the signs and signals and kept trusting and kept trusting me when I would say, hey, so there's this thing, and then you take action. And if you were feeling like inner conversation around, God, I just don't know. I mean, you sure handled it well, because I didn't pick up that vibe. It might have been when you were looking like, maybe for a split second, but you still just like rolled right into badassery. You rose to the call over and over and over. And isn't that like bold action is what creates an extraordinary life?
Yep.
So for you to have gone through what you've done, it's not an overnight thing. It's a consistent work on our inner game and what's possible. And when you've been living a certain lifestyle for so long, and our culture perpetuates a lifestyle of pushing and overdoing and overworking. We live in a workaholic culture. It's not healthy. It's just become the norm. And so you start to talk about something else. We're like, but this is what I've always done. And this is what success means. And this is how I get validation, is to like be exhausted at the end of the night. And what's happening with women, and why we cannot continue this anymore, happening with men as well, but my expertise is women: adrenal burnout, excessive weight gain that won't move, hormonal imbalancing, cancers, diseases left and right. And it is because I feel a huge piece of this is our masculine pushing selves. Like, we've got a pandemic of disease and cancer in this culture that is off the charts. And people are like, what is happening? Because when we have such cultural programming is so strong everywhere you go to keep doing, being more, growing more and having more, then it perpetuates the cycle of unhealthiness. And so you pulled out of that long enough to be like, wait a minute, what I actually want to create here, what's possible for me to create? Because it is absolutely up to us, every bit of it. And so how have you noticed then it's not just your business too, but it's affected your personal life, your relationship with your children and your husband, and your physical health too? You took on that to another level as well.
And at the beginning of the program, Marcela will say, this is a lot, 9 months of this is a lot, don't do anything extra. Just allow yourself to do this 9-month program. Don't try to lose a bunch of weight, do all this, buy a house. And the very first thing I do is sign up to go be on this keto program. So I've lost 50 pounds since we started the program 9 months ago.
Yeah.
And part of that, actually, Marcela, was you did a guided meditation. You do a lot of guided meditations throughout the program, but one of them was us weaving through a forest, and we ended up basically finding our future selves. And this happens at the very beginning of the program, and Marcela will help you envision how you want to end the program. What do you look like? What do you smell like? What do you wear? What's your hair color? What are you wearing? Like, what are you doing? And so my vision was me. And I think I was even standing in Hawaii and I had like long hair. Look at this long hair. Long hair. And I was like fit. And I was like, I'm going to become this person who I know is inside of me. And to do that, I have to make some immediate changes. And so I did. I made immediate changes and I started running and I started eating and feeding my body healthy foods and having my monthly massages. And like, here's how I look now a year later. And it's very similar to that woman that I envisioned through that one guided meditation that you did with us.
That's fantastic. And it's so interesting that you jumped in that way, because as I've gone through this past cycle of moving to the Big Island for 6 months while I facilitated part of the program, and of course you ladies flew over to meet me there to be initiated, I got a whole other level of understanding too, that as actually diet and exercise, it sounds so basic, but it's going to become a part of this as well. Because this work is so empowering, and we work with our energy bodies a lot. We work with energy through visualization, through breath work, and I introduce the concepts of Kundalini and life force energy in our bodies and how our thoughts affect that, and how our thoughts are affecting our cellular DNA in every moment. So we know with epigenetics and Joe Dispenza's work and Bruce Lipton, that there's a whole other understanding of health and wellness that's now being shown to us of our own abilities to create extraordinary health. And I thought it would be too much to incorporate those pieces as well. But now that you've gone through it and shown me like what's possible to the next level, not that it's like a requirement to change your diet. I'm finding that there are specific diets that are important to detox and cleanse and then move into a really sustainable health. And I actually had an opportunity this weekend to reconnect with one of my favorite holistic doctors, and had, as I shared with you, had a bit of a wake-up call around shifts I need to make in my own diet. And I've already noticed a difference in 3 days. And so that's new information I'm going to be bringing forth. And he's extensively studied anti-cancer protocols from a food perspective, and exercise, physical exercise, and weightlifting for the body resistance is actually an important piece. So that's super exciting, because as we awaken to a new aspect of ourselves, we desire to start taking better care of ourselves. We start to get, wait, there's a whole other level of love that I want to welcome in for myself, because ultimately that's where it all starts anyway, right? We have to believe that we're worthy of it, that we're capable of it, that we too can create an extraordinary life. And I use the mirroring concept of, who do you see in this group that you desire to welcome in more of the qualities of? And we work around some of the shadow aspect of, who is it that you feel a little repulsed by? Like, I just speak it, because it's in the context of the sacred circle that we can do tremendous healing around our relationships with women, which is big for all of us, our relationship to the feminine, to the mothering principle. And also to see what's the inner conversation that we have of other people around us that may tag us in some way, that are actually reflecting back a part of ourselves that we have not accepted yet. Mm-hmm. And that's basically some of the core of shadow work for those that don't fully understand. So, yeah, so massive change in your business and your health. And anything with your relationship with your husband, also, you started to welcome in more of that feminine part where you're like, I'm going to let him hold the door. I'm going to let him order dinner. I'm going to let him order the bottle of wine. Maybe he can make that reservation at the restaurant, like kind of letting him lead some.
Yeah, that was an interesting thing. So that happened almost a year ago at the August retreat. It was one of the big things I remember walking out of. It was the shadow work process that we did that day. Again, I've never cried so much in my entire life. It was like I finally opened, like cracked open that weekend, and needed that, because for so many years, I've felt like I have to be the leader, and I'm the breadwinner, and I'm the one that has to do all the things and take care of all the people. And so in doing that, I felt like I was shoving everybody aside. Like, oh, don't worry, I'll tell them how many we have for the table. Or like, don't worry, I'll pay for that. Let me pick the check up. It was me being a man. And I felt like I had to be, but I didn't. And so I'm married for the second time to Derek. And Derek is precious, definitely has some feminine energy, but like wants to be the leader. And all of a sudden I realized during the August retreat last year, I don't have to be the leader anymore. Like I can allow him to be the masculine leader. And not that being a leader is bad by any means, but it was this part of me that I needed to like have permission to step back and to allow someone else to take care of me a little bit. Whether it even be just telling the hostess how many people to sit at the table. For some reason, I felt like I had to be the one to say that. Yeah. So I left the retreat, and you guys, like, I was like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore, and I'm not doing this anymore, and I'm letting him tell, and I'm keeping my mouth shut and letting him step up. And all of a sudden I saw him grow, like his demeanor change. Like I can't say the things that need to be said, and like, she'll let me do it. So that's been a really nice change in our marriage.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many things in this for all of us. So one thing that I speak of is the shadow side of the independent woman, right? And this is something we both, and like all the entrepreneurial women I know, have to dance with on a regular basis, is when we are overdoing in our lives and taking the responsibility and leadership away from others, we're not giving them a chance to step up. And we think that we're doing them a favor, or we're playing out the role because we're such strong leaders. It's like, I got this, let me handle it. And I had to go through deep learning around this myself over the years. So that's a big wake-up call for a lot of us. We're like, wait a minute, but so we're disempowering our kids and our husband and maybe even the other people in our network because we're just handling it all. So the great thing about this is when we learn and we start to welcome in this deeper conversation, it's like, okay, wait, I don't need to handle it all. In fact, I'm not actually responsible for anyone else but me. And I know this is an exception when you have young children. Obviously, you're going to want to be a parent, but I'm talking about in adult relationships that by overdoing and overgiving and being overly responsible, not only are we leading ourselves to exhaustion and doing too much, we're disempowering those around us to step up and take some of the weight off of responsibility. But we're also not allowing ourselves to see how our relationships could actually shift and change to be more soft and feminine and trusting, because trust is a huge part of it. And especially as entrepreneurial women, like hiring a team and being able to pass off part of our baby to someone else is a really vulnerable thing. It's like the first time you take your baby literally like to the daycare or the babysitter or hiring a nanny. It's like, oh, it's like part of you is being sucked away. It's a process we have to go through in order to grow as leaders, because if we're constantly stuck on all the minutia and all the things, doing all the things all the time, leading to exhaustion, then we're never going to grow. Because we're actually telling the universe is I've got too much. I don't need any more. I can't do any more. My life is too much already. Energetically, that's what we're saying. So go to make any change to welcome in more, but more of what? Receptivity, allowing, trusting, self-care, all the feminine aspects. That's actually the more we're wanting to welcome in, than it's all of the holding, the fast gripping, the death grip that we can have on things that we must release in order for that healing to unfold. And that's a huge process that you went through, and I've needed to be through for myself. Because the core of this is this priestess work is really for women leaders, that either you're currently in leadership or you're being called into leadership. You know you've got a big gift to bring to the world. You know there's a book inside of you, or a business you want to launch, or a different business project that's calling you, or you know that your relationships are not up to par. There's an aspect of receivership that you've not developed because you haven't learned to trust that feminine aspect. And this first 9-month program is a very personal process. And the overarching goal is that we awaken to those gifts more fully and learn to trust them. Because all the women that come through this work are very naturally spiritually gifted, intuitive healers. Ultimately, all of you are. And there's varying levels of how you express that in the world. But the way you start to show up differently is how you're helping to heal the world, and specifically yours around every aspect of your life. And people in your business world, they're noticing how you've shifted. They're noticing, and you've been bold to share it, which has been fantastic. Because another shadow side of leadership is we choose what we share. And if we're not sharing the vulnerable parts and letting people see us, then sometimes we're not allowing ourselves to be human. So anything else we want to say today? I definitely want to welcome in you ladies to come join Jennifer and I in the Sacred Mountains of North Carolina, August 23 through 25, full weekend immersion into this conversation. We're going to gather in tribe together in a beautiful location, open up your deeper destiny, open up a level of receivership and trust within your body, eat nourishing foods, be in a beautiful place on the earth. There's a labyrinth at the top of the mountain. There's clear mountain water to get in. It's going to be an extraordinary weekend. And the women that came last summer had so many amazing things to say about it. Many of them jumped into the 9-month process, which will be offered to you. And the women that just came for the weekend immersion had an extraordinary results. They went off to do their thing. That's all they needed to unlock that sacred yes within them. So I'm extending early bird doors till August 1st. I decided I had enough women reach out, and I knew this interview was today. And I have a workshop in Charleston, South Carolina tomorrow night. So I'm going to go and extend the early bird pricing to August 1st. And it's an incredibly affordable opportunity to come experience this priestess awakening within. Anything that you want to share last bits on the retreat last summer? Because it just like pretty much blew you open.
Yeah, I would say if you're looking to get out of your comfort zone, you want to find the magic in life, and you want to learn how to strengthen and build on your intuition that you might already have, like this is the weekend for you. It was nothing like I'd expected. It was more than I could have ever imagined. And it definitely got me out of my comfort zone for sure.
Fantastic. And in this place, I think we might even have AC inside. So these ladies are going to be in the lap of luxury. Have an incredible caterer that does farm to table meals that lives right there in Asheville. It's north of Asheville. Very easy drive from the airport if you're flying in. Super affordable to get out there. Highly recommend you ladies jump in. It's on my website, marcelamcbride.com. That's Marcela with one L. And I'll pop that link under the video for any of your tribe that are watching this. They can go check it out. And Jennifer's going to be part of Team Priestess this year, along with some other initiated women showing up. It's going to be a very powerful circle, incredible opportunity. So any closing words, my dear, before we come to closure today?
I think I'd want to close with the biggest thing that I got out of this program, and what I set my intention for when I first talked to you in December of what I wanted 2 years ago, was I wanted to learn how to listen to, hear, listen to, and trust my intuition. Mm-hmm. And I felt like that had been cut off, Mike, for years. And I couldn't even feel it anymore. And you helped open that up for me to the point where things are manifesting faster than ever, where I can hear it and sense it and know what I'm supposed to do, whether it's what I'm supposed to eat for lunch or when I'm supposed to leave to go to the grocery store. Like, it's as simple as that. Yeah. And to me, that's incredible magic that helps guide your entire life forever.
It really does. And it's even down, like you said, we learn to trust it and follow it. And it becomes down to like the simplest things. It's like, okay, I was going to go run errands at 4 o'clock, but for some reason, I'm not feeling like I'm supposed to leave yet. And we don't know why. And this has happened so many times now that I'm like, oh yeah, always listening to the voice, that there would have been an accident on the corner exactly where I would have been in that moment had I gone anyway. This is like our intuition is connected to the divine source of all creation. Call that God, Goddess, universe, spirit, whatever works for you. We're in constant communion. So when we open up that connection by trusting our intuitive voice, we learn that it is always serving us. It's always serving us, even though our logical mind wants to question it every time until we really learn to trust it. And then it stops questioning as much. It still questions now and then. But I get to where my husband, John, says, just always tell me what the voice says. There's a couple times, sometimes I get so much information. I'm like, well, I didn't realize it had told me that because I was thinking about something else. And it like something goes off because I didn't follow it. So it starts to become the voice we always listen to. And it's absolutely possible for every single one of us to awaken that voice and learn to trust it. And that's one of the biggest pieces of this priestess path work, is trusting that voice. If we just follow the voice and keep trusting it, magic and extraordinary life will unfold. All right, my love, thank you so much for taking time today, and so wonderful to be with your community as well. Some of them are going to be listening to this, so excited to touch base with them and connect with them as well. And yeah, post what was your biggest takeaway under the video from this conversation today. What was your big aha that you received? And so excited about everyone that's going to listen to this as a replay as well. So much love and blessings all. Come join us in August in North Carolina. Ta-ta for now. May you live in magic and may it unfold throughout all the cells of your body and in your life. Ta-ta for now.